a quick question. Did you know Michael had you met Michael when he was working at Blockbuster still?
Yeah. He was working at Blockbuster whenever we started dating.
Michael will not remember this because he didn't know who I was at the time, but Michael issued me my Blockbuster card in the fall of 2006 when I moved.
Oh my goodness.
Cool. I walked in and he was working and I needed a Blockbuster card because Blockbusters were still a thing in 2006 and it feels like a long time ago and I hate it, but it's fine.
Yeah.
And I'm fine. And I was like, oh, this guy is really nice, whatever. And then I saw him either at like an audition or I saw him like on the couches. And I was like, that's the guy with my Blockbuster card. And I feel like it's the most dated thing that you can ever say about someone is be like, oh yeah, I know this guy because he issued me my Blockbuster card.
I'll tell him that whenever I go upstairs, make him feel old. Be like, did you know?
And I don't know that I ever told him that, but like I had my Blockbuster card in, like I had a stack of, like I had like old wallet stuff, and my Blockbuster card was just there with like my student ID until like last year when I moved to Denver. And so I think of Michael often when I saw my Blockbuster card. Hi, Josh.
I'll let him know.
Hey,
Josh.
What's going on?
What's that?
I said, what's going on?
Not much. Just doing the daily night routine after work with the kids and the dinners and all that jazz.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very adult.
How many kids?
It's the one place I do that kind of adult stuff.
Sure. Well, I'm really proud of you, buddy.
She's petting you, like she's like just patting your head through the Zoom call.
Right. Like, good for you. Good for you, bud.
You're doing a good job. Do you like nighttime? Do you guys, for the parents in the room, do you guys like your nighttime ritual with your kids better, or do you like a different ritual with your kids that is a daily ritual?
I think the nighttime thing is the only thing in our lives that is a ritual regularly.
Yeah.
Aside from, I mean, wake up is a ritual, but that's not fun. Like,
right.
My kid doesn't want to wake up unless it's 3:00 in the morning.
That's time.
It's like that's when LJ's ready to party. So nighttime is nice most of the time, and it's good, and like you do your little routines, and she tries to act super silly beforehand. The rest of the time, it's throughout the day. It just kind of is dependent on her little 4-year-old whims and wants and imagination. So.
For sure.
4-year-old whims and wants.
So what do your nighttime rituals look like? Because my household, it was, and here's the Benadryl, and we pretty much just went from there. I mean, I heard that was bad parenting, though.
I have had to start giving her like a little melatonin gummy.
That's how my parents did it.
I've tried not to, but like legitimately, again, 4.5 years old, and like she has major sleep issues that like no matter what I do just do not seem to be solved. So she's always moving too. Like if she's awake, she is fidgeting in some manner. Like that's fingers or her leg or something. So, but like, you know, we go in, we change, we do like brush teeth and everything like that, and then we read a couple of books. And then we had to get her a tent for over top of her bed. Like it's the most recent addition to try and help the sleep, because she has an active imagination. So she's scared of the shadows and she doesn't like to dream. And she also really likes spooky stuff. So it's kind of, I'm like, I'm sorry, kid, you're kind of walking a weird line. I'm not sure what to do.
Jillian, my eldest was the same way.
Yeah.
And up in like even into middle school was just fascinated by all the creepiness, but he couldn't handle it. Like in his head when it was bedtime, he would just completely melt down.
Yeah.
And you know, there were times like around a campfire where I probably shouldn't have told him the plot of The Walking Dead. But I mean, we already established I did Benadryl as well. I don't know, but okay. But now he's in high school, so he's a freshman in high school now, which really makes me feel old. And he and his friends are doing the exact same thing I was doing with my friends in high school, which was finding the dumbest B horror movies and binge watching them.
Mhm.
And I gotta tell you, the day he asked me if I had ever heard of a movie called Sleepaway Camp was the proudest day of my life.
It's when a tear fell down.
Right?
Well,
Family
the
film.
the other day, LJ was like, Michael was watching a documentary called Horror Noir that's about like Black characters in cinema. And it shows clips of stuff. And she walked up and she was like, "What's this?" Like, and we're like, "I don't think you should be watching." And the next day she came down, she's like, "Daddy, I want us to watch the movie you were watching." But then whenever he put it on, she was like, "They're just talking," because it was going back to like the 1930s. And she was like, "They're just talking. I don't like this." So we put on Gremlins too. We were like, okay. But yeah, so we have a little tent to zip her up in.
Right. Because Gremlins
That's
2
your
is
oldest,
far
right,
less scary than Gremlins 1. Which I
Well,
thought-
Gremlins 1 has that whole like Santa scene with what happens had to explain Santa, and that would just be a hard thing to do.
right? Saw that in the theater in Ghostbusters. That was
Ooh.
yeah. Those were rough times. My brother is 6 years older than me, so I suffered from anything my brother finally became the age of being allowed to do. I immediately was allowed because my parents just didn't want to have to go through it twice.
Right.
Seeing a lot of movies that I probably shouldn't have been seeing at my age. But before we go any further, I need to know who our seventh panelist is. Josh.
I'm Josh, class of 2010, and this is Roslyn.
Class of
She's
Hi, Roslyn.
Earth class of 2013, I guess. I don't know how to quite phrase it. She's my 7-year-old.
Hey, Rosalind.
Hey, Roslyn.
It's wild that she's 7 already, Josh.
I know, right? Yeah, she's a second grader. She's reading through the Magic Treehouse series right now, and
Ooh,
she's already up to book 20.
nice.
We haven't finished it yet.
You have not finished it yet. You're on chapter 8.
Rosalind, what's book 20 about? Which one is book 20?
Dingoes at dinner time.
Oh, classic. Dingoes at Dinner Time is an excellent one.
The one I'm excited for is Stage Fright on a Summer Night.
Oh, I've not read that one.
Sounds appropriate
We can all
for this
relate.
conversation.
It's I listen to it every night on my dad's phone.
That is part of our bedtime ritual. We put on an audiobook of Stage Fright on a Summer Night, which is when they go back to London and meet William Shakespeare.
Mm.
Again, appropriate.
And the Queen.
And the Queen.
Classic.
I mean, can't have one without the other, really.
No,
Exactly.
like peas and carrots.
But yeah, she feel free to continue, like, you know, she likes to hang out and see what I'm doing and be a part of everything, and I love having her. So
Well, enjoy it while you can, because at some point they're just going to be like, yeah, I don't care anymore.
yeah, I know.
About a
She's
year
gonna be cool
ago,
with me in no time.
I went back to Charleston, and I was just telling a bunch of stories to my son, the 14-year-old. So he was like 12 or 13 when we had this conversation. And he's all of a sudden like, "Dad, sounds like when you were in college, you were really popular. What happened?"
Burn.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then he's basically like, "Sick burn." But I mean, it was perfectly delivered. So I had to be proud.
Right.
Right. What else can you be?
Like,
Right.
You better be
Like-
glad you have comedic timing, kid.
Dad doesn't
Right?
have friends anymore. He has coworkers
And
right.
kids.
and children.
Children.
So the one thing I am very interested in hearing from all of you is how you ended up at the College of Charleston, and then if you hadn't found the theater department yet, how did that transpire? Because if you've watched any of the previous episodes, you know that I specifically sought out CFC for the theater department. And I know lots of my friends stumbled into it later on. My roommate was former military and was using his GI Bill and needed something to do and I think he went down to the shop like to do a practicum hour for intro, and just stayed, became a shop assistant, and graduated with a scenography degree.
I'm from South Carolina. So, and the high school I went to, I actually went to high school for theater. The last 2 years. And so I did performing arts there. And so I knew I wanted to go and continue to study theater. And just whenever I was surveying my options in South Carolina, it felt like the choices were College of Charleston or Coastal Carolina, which has a very good musical theater program, but your girl can't sing. So I was like, I like Charleston, the city. It's not my hometown. I also like the scope of what it seems like their theater department is. So I actually went to College of Charleston. My choice was because of both the city and the theater department there. Yeah. I actually had, whenever I had my preview day, Peyton, who we've talked about a couple of times, and one of her friends was on the tour with me that day too. So
Probably Danny.
yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
So,
That's good stuff.
yeah.
Oh well, so I was like I said, I already mentioned I was originally going to go for pre-med because of their really good relationship with MUSC. But I've been doing performance stuff before that. Lexington had a pretty good theater department as far as everything goes. Like, and I remember competing against Jillian a couple times. One of the earliest times I remember meeting both her and Smallwood, really, and Henry Riggs was through the skit thing, because Riggs and Smallwood did the complete works of William Shakespeare. Or at least I knew Riggs did, and I thought that Smallwood did that with them as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember watching you do like this thing about angels.
Lawsonary is what I brought there. So I was like,
was that what it was?
It was spelling bee, but it was like the three women. Yeah.
Long time ago in college was in the way, so memory.
No.
It's all
but after. I'd done theater and stuff, but like the joke in my honors production class was always, because we did like a skit that we'd go and do like we would do performances for like kids theater during high school, and like perform to different classes and have like a bunch of like little kids come and see our show and stuff. And then they have like a question and answer set, and my teacher was like, and you have to do theater.
Alex, you are
doctor, because that's what I wanted to do at the time. But then I thought, am I?
Was he robotic to the rest of you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that any better?
It
It sounded
is better
cool,
now,
though.
yeah.
Sorry.
But we missed a big enough chunk. Can anyone give him a cue line, like where to start back from?
Yeah.
We were gesturing.
A lot of wild.
I do that with everything.
You had done theater. It was honors, skits, and stuff. So you had a past in theater, but like you said, you had come for.
Yeah, and that's what it came down to. I realized I didn't like pre-med, so I just kept on going with what I was doing, found theater, and I wanted to do something that if I didn't pursue theater, I could have a job afterwards. And costume design seemed to be something that I could be a tailor, and that's exactly what I did.
Nice. But how exactly did you make? Because a lot of people that come, even if you did stuff in high school, people that come with one major, there's usually some significant thing that ends up pulling them into the department, of whether it's you took 176 and stumbled into the costume shop, or ran into a friend that also does it.
Yeah, no, every single one of my friends was in theater. Like, Every single one of them. Gray was in theater. Smallwood was in theater. Tony Napo. Everyone that I was friends with at the time, like they were all in theater. So honestly, part of it was that I wanted to hang out with my friends too.
When I was there, I think it was around my junior year when I noticed it. There were people that like lived in a house full of theater people. So it'd be like the one English major, and then they'd get pulled in to do a show, and then you saw them a little bit more, and then all of a sudden they declared theater. And not everyone was really, what's the right word? Meant to see that through to the end. So my roommates and I used to take bets on how long it would be before they went back to their old major, or if they would actually see it through to the end, because we were pretty cruel people. You saw it through to the end.
I was like, I had the experience where like I took theater the first year that I was at the college, but had like the boyfriend at home and all that sort of stuff that you absolutely should not come to college with. And then the second year is when I was still taking classes, but I actually got involved with hanging out with people and the community that is around the theater department at the College of Charleston. And that's what really drew me in and made me feel a part of it. Like Mama Joy's acting one class was amazing my freshman year, but it wasn't until my sophomore year that I felt like, oh yeah, this is it. This feels good.
Yeah. Hanging out at the couches, honestly.
Sleeping at the couches, right?
Those oily, dirty couches.
Oh.
Yeah,
well,
you wanted to
they
have
were
a
the same
barrier
couches 10
between
years
you
before.
and the cushion, because who knows what was on there. Before I tell my sort of side of the story, two people who you were talking about, like the transformation of like them kind of like, oh, they might get involved with a show here, or they did a director showcase or something like that. And then next thing you know, they're full on just theater people. The first one was Noah. Noah Smith was, when I first met him, was very much a kind of just like a Southern, like bro dude, like with an earring, and was just kind of like very skeptical. And I think he worked in the shop. Mm-hmm. And did like one or two shows, was kind of involved. He was in a show I did, the Michael's show Triangle, and then just somewhere like a flipped a switch and then just was the guy that we know today. And it was so funny and he'll be the first to talk about how he just did a completely 180 of personality. The other was George Caruth, and I pat myself on the back because George teaches drama now to high schoolers, and he had done a couple director showcases, and I was like, dude, you're really good, like you should do a full-on show. And I kept pushing him, and I don't think it was until his junior year that he finally auditioned for a show and did a show with Joy. And then we eventually did Equus together, and he lived in New York for a while, was like full on like pursuing the dream, and then is now like a drama teacher. And so that was a really cool transformation to see also. For me, I knew I wanted to study theater in college, but I was very still kind of apprehensive about the idea of it, just because of, how successful would I be? Would I make it outside of school? And would I even do well enough to get cast in shows on a collegiate level? I had no idea. And I toured a bunch of universities, and a lot of them was like, well, you have to declare a major before you can even be in a show here. A lot of them, it was just big flashy musicals, and I do not sing or dance well. And then I went and I toured Charleston, and right away was like, oh my God, this campus is insane. It's it's in an urban area. There's so much to do. And just love the city. And then I went and I toured with a couple other students, one of them who I think eventually became like a voice major, was in the choir or something, and I don't remember who the third person was. But then I sat down and had a meeting with Todd and in his office, and I was like, Professor McNerney. He was like, call me Todd, please. And I just talked to him about sort of like, what is it like here? And he said, we do all kinds of shows. We don't just do musicals. We do kind of run the gamut. And you don't have to be a major to do a show. So I was like, okay. And it was a reputable university, and being from Atlanta, I wasn't going to get into Emory, and Oglethorpe is like basically, a few miles from where I grew up. So I was like, I really want to go to school a few miles from where I grew up. And there aren't really many other theater departments in Georgia that are kind of worth noting, or at least not at the time. So then I get into CFC, and I got in before I even toured. And so then I go, and it's my freshman year. Liz was one of the first people I met. I think we were already Facebook friends, but we were at like the orientation, and you were sitting behind me, and somehow like I overheard you, and you're like, "Are you Andrew?" And yeah, Liz. So we because we had mutual friends. So I auditioned for shows my first semester, and I got cast in Arms and the Man, which was directed by Mark. Christy was my first theater professor, and I guess the acting one was the class. And just kind of quickly became a part of that group of people, and had this, there was a sort of, communal aspect, and went from being like, well, I don't know if I want to major in this, to not really caring about anything else, unfortunately, and paying a little bit too much attention to just acting and not grades. And so, that was my whole life. And I lived for the rehearsal. I haven't smelled the Emmett Robinson in a while, but the couple of times I've come back and visited, I just open the door, and like I am immediately taken back to that feeling of sort of collaborating and like showing up for rehearsal and being a part of something that was art for the sake of creating something, and not trying to fill seats and keep your theater afloat. Which then, when you get out into the real theater world, it becomes a much different beast, and it's a lot harder to get cast, and it's much more competitive. And I haven't acted in several years now, and part of the reason was I kind of got worn down on just like doing shows where just a couple old ladies go like, good job, and then they and then just kind of walk off to their cars, and you're like, all right, why did I even do that? And that was 3 months of my life. And but Charleston, just looking back, that was just just working on those shows was some of the best times of my life, for sure. We were talking about the meeting Michael, Jillian. So the first time I met Michael, speaking of it was Arms and the Man rehearsal. It was like it wasn't like a final dress, but it was a dress rehearsal, and he, I guess, just kind of sat in and was watching, laughing loudly, eating a bag of probably Gushers, I assume,
probably Skittles,
Skittles maybe. And we went back to the dressing room, and he came up to me. He was like, "Hey, what's up, man? Michael Smallwood." I was like, "Hey," and he's like, "Not bad." I was like, "Thanks, buddy. Nice to meet you." And I never met him before, and he was just kind of like, "All right, freshman kid, I see you." And I was like, "Thanks, man. Much appreciated."
That's what John Paul, for just in case, Michael Smallwood. Yeah, that's my husband. So that's
I picked up on it.
Yeah, that's the reason why I'm getting I like them. That's the reason why I'm getting the moment I met Michael. Now that's what we've pivoted after my career is I don't do art so much, but I work and do the hustle, so that way I can support him to do the art. So
I was trying to think of when the first time I met the rest of y'all, and I don't know exactly. I want to say it was probably more likely. Jillian, were you in Christie's class with me?
No, I was in. I think you were in my script. Did you have script analysis with Mark?
I did.
We're
Yeah.
all in that class together.
With it was like us and Peyton and GP, I think
Dallas
was in it.
And Matt, Cookie Face was in it.
Cookie Face was in
We can
it.
call him Matt, guys. You don't have to call him.
On that.
No,
No, we have to call him Cookie Face.
All right. Fair
He's
enough.
forever
the fact
Cookie
that it
Face.
has
enough.
stuck this long is like a sense of weird pride.
Matt, if you're watching this, I'm saying it lovingly.
We love you.
It
man.
is all love, like absolutely.
Yeah,
Maddie G.
there's a big freshman group of us that were in that class. There's
Yeah.
lots.
And I remember laughing with Peyton because even though we were in Maybank Hall in just like a class, Mark would still refuse to say Macbeth. So we always called it the Scottish play, and he talked about it a lot that semester. And so me and Peyton, for some reason, found that hilarious. So me and her just kept cracking up laughing about it. We were like, every time it became a joke. Like I
Yeah,
couldn't.
maybe I wasn't in that class. I thought my class was in the can, but
Yours was in the can. This was
it was
definitely in
a
Maybank.
long time
Yeah, I
ago.
think
I
we were
don't-
talking. Yeah, we weren't in the same. I
Were
think.
you in two different ones? I had
I
like
think Jillian. Maybe we had like acting 2 together, or like voice.
we definitely had.
something. Yeah.
I think me, you, and
Todd?
Liz all had acting 2 together.
Yeah.
Dallas was definitely in that class too. We might have all had movement together too.
Something like that. I don't know.
But we probably had most of our core classes together.
I was like, we're all getting pushed through at the same time.
Wait, I want to hear how Josh decided to go to CFC.
Yeah.
Okay,
You just
well,
wanna go
I,
last. That's
Well, I can go now. I wanted to also hear Josh's story.
Liz wants to just have the time to go last.
My story's not very interesting.
all right, Josh. It's all you.
okay. So I actually transferred to College of Charleston. I went to Duquesne University up in Pittsburgh
That's
for my first
I
year.
forgot.
Yeah, and I visited the campus, and it was just one of those "why am I not going here" moments. And I actually I took an acting class at Duquesne just kind of to fill the credit hours, and I didn't have any background in it whatsoever. And I really enjoyed the acting class. Like I had a lot of fun, and I did something that was really akin to a director showcase there. And when I got to CFC, I was originally intending to be an ed major, and I went to the Chapel Theater. I lived up like on Smith Street, right across from Norm's Pizza, and I was walking home from the general campus area, and I saw some people hanging out outside the Chapel Theater, and I thought, let's ask about a theater department. Maybe they do shows and stuff. And it was rehearsal for Titus Andronicus, and I met Carl Barnwell and Kiara LaFalce out there, and they were doing like the scene painting. And I asked if they like, what are you guys up to? Is there a show? Okay, I'll keep it in for you. And yeah, so I asked them if there was a theater department, and they just
Beautiful.
chuckled. And they said, you can sit in and watch our rehearsal if you like. So I did. And then Wayne was directing it, and he asked me to run crew it. So I ended up run crewing Titus and declaring a major. And that's how I got started there in offsetting a long and lucrative career, which has led me back to the education field, incidentally, working with special needs.
That's awesome.
And where? Wait, did you say it before? Where are you located right now?
Nashville.
Nashville. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in Nashville.
Yeah.
Yes, I work at this one school, actually.
Josh, were you in Philadelphia? Here I Come.
Yes, I was. Yeah, I think that's how we
Okay,
met.
that was when we first met. Yeah.
That was an experience.
It was. We got into the Irish thing very much.